Righto moochers, this video is going to take you through my essential items for rock fishing. Over the years I've refined what I take, but there are certainly some things that I don't ever go without. Whether it's to help you catch more fish, bigger fish, or just to make it a more enjoyable trip, these are my top items, so check them out. Right, number one, I never ever go fishing anymore without my Moocher Mat. The reason is because I release most of my fish, especially the big ones. So the last thing I'd want to do is to catch the fish of a lifetime and not have a way of measuring it. I'm not bothered by weight, but I always take my measuring mat. So yeah, number one, Moocher Mat, never ever forget it. Number two is my Just Another Fisherman Backpack. I've talked about these lots over the years. The reason is because they're just so good. They're waterproof, they're a great size, especially for lure fishing off the rocks. And the best thing for me is they have the slot on the side, which is pretty much made for a Moocher Mat. So that's item number two. Next on the list is a rock spike. And a short one like this, especially for rock fishing. Not talking the great big long ones for surf casting. One of these here is super handy for rock fishing. Obviously they wedge into a crack or a crevice in the rocks. And the beauty of these is that you can have your rod angled so that your line is not up hanging in the wind messing with your bait. You can have the angle nice and low so that your tip of your rod is closer to the water. They're really easy to find a spot. You can find a spot just about on any of New Zealand's rocks. The other great thing about these is if you're collecting kinna to use as burley, they make a great hammer. You can smash them up. Next thing on the list is a rope, a decent length rope, good quality, really useful on the rocks. Whether it's getting to the ledge, in terms of safety, you can tie it to a tree, you can help to lower yourself down. They've really come in handy. And then obviously once you're on the ledge, to put your burley out. One little tip for securing your rope to the rocks when you've got your burley out in the water. I've seen a lot of fishers wrapping the end of their rope around to like a protruding rock. Much easier way is just to tie a simple granny knot in your rope, and then you shove that into a crack or a crevice, and just the tension on that little knot is more than enough to hold your burley in place. And then at the end of your trip, you just pull the other end, comes out really easy. But overall, a rope, I never go rock fishing without a decent rope. Really important. Something that's made my essential list more recently is a buoy like this one. This is a squishy version that I found on a beach up north. You could substitute this with a milk bottle. The reason I take one of these is to help my burley bomb last longer. The last thing you want is for your expensive burley just to get smashed up on the rocks, especially if it's choppy. So what you do is you tie this to your burley bag and then you chuck it out, and it saves your burley much longer, saves you a bit of money in the end. But a float or a buoy like this one is really useful for looking after your burley bomb. This here should probably be up the top of my list. It's a 10-bar heavy circle from BKK. Especially when I'm snapper fishing, I never go without these. They're essential if you want to let those big fish go, because these here just about always hook up in the corner of the mouth. I'm yet, touch wood, to have a big snapper swallow one of these. The great thing about these too is you can catch fish that are undersized right up to ginormous ones. They hook up everything. Don't be put off by the size of the hook. Even your dinner size snapper are going to swallow these no problem, and they will hook up in the corner of the mouth. Highly recommend the 10-bar circle hook from BKK. These are definitely on my list. And on the topic of catch and release, I never go rock fishing without my rubber landing net. Rubber is probably the most important bit, not like the old school nylon nets, which really used to munt up the fish's fins, especially their dorsal and their pectoral fins. The rubber is far more gentle on the snapper, so a great option if you're releasing your fish. The other bonus of the rubber material is it's far easier to get your hooks and your jig heads out of them untangled, rather than the nylon, which was always a nightmare. My net also has an extension on the pole, which is really useful for rock fishing because you can't always get right down to the water's edge. So having one where the pole extends out is really useful. And clearly this net is really deep and massive because that's the kind of fish that I'm trying to catch. Rubber landing net, if you haven't got one, make sure you grab one. Something else I always take rock fishing is a jet boiler. This is kind of more for the enjoyment of the trip, but they're super handy for obviously heating up water for coffees. It's amazing the number of times when the fishing's slow and you get a brew going, and as soon as you take your first sip of your coffee, your reel screams off. So great for coffees, but then also for food, noodles, hot dogs, soups, that sort of stuff. Just makes the rock fishing experience that much more enjoyable. So a jet boiler. Cool, well I hope you found that useful. Those were my essential rock fishing items. If you've got something that you don't go fishing without, hit me up in the comments, let me know. Keen to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned for the next video in the shed. You.